the chin likes to lift up just a little bit when we breathe in. So as the chest lifts, the chin lifts a little bit. So as we change one bend in one section of the spine, it actually affects the other areas. Thinking about the three curves in the spine. So I'm dressed warmly today because it's a little bit, even though it's not cold out yet, it feels cold. It's without the sun and I guess the change of seasons. So we have our three curves in the back that are so important. So when we sit in mountain pose, we want the lumbar to be going in slightly, but the belly not sticking out. So I have stability with the pelvis and the belly and the lumbar spine by a little gentle contraction in the belly here. And then the middle part, or the thoracic part between the shoulder blades, is going back that way. And then the cervical part with the neck is going in, the same as the lumbar. And try a few breaths, thinking about the curves of the spine. So a little support from the belly. So there's a gentle contraction in the belly. And let's try this. Take your fingers and put your thumb so it's up near, just below the ribs. So my ribs are about right here. See if you can find your ribs. Just poke until you find, so gently poke. And then rest the fingers down below and the thumbs up above. And as you breathe in and out, see if you can feel the skin broadening as you inhale. And you'll be able to feel that because the hands are going to go like this. They're going to move. The fingers are going to spread apart, especially the thumbs and the tips of the fingers. And then as they go back, think about drawing the fingertips towards the thumb together. So the skin here shortens. And these muscles are going to contract, the skin shortens, the fingers come closer together. And it's a small movement. Maybe my fingers are doing kind of like this. Maybe a half an inch. Maybe you get an inch, but you might not. But think about the skin, almost, we've described it in the past as like a zipper. So that when you zip, if you had something a little bit firmer, well, here's a zipper here. So when I close this up, I feel everything pull together. So see if you can feel the belly pulling together as if you were zipping up as you exhale. And then as you inhale, you unzip and things move out and expand. So we're going in and out like that. So you can use any of these concepts, whether it's the zipper or the fingers, or even just feeling the belly rising and falling like a balloon. So any of these things can be used to help us focus in on our breathing. And let's add a little bit more movement. We're going to inhale and then exhale, bring the palms together. So we'll do this a few times. And as you breathe in, as the arms come apart, notice the bottoms of the feet. See that they're grounded in the earth. You could press them gently with an isometric contraction of the quadriceps here. And if you're uncertain about an isometric contraction, rest the hands here. And then as you start to press the feet down, try leaning forward slightly. So press the feet, lean forward, and then see if you can feel the muscles here contracting with the hands, underneath the hands. So they get firmer and they shorten. And then come back to that breathing. Exhaling and still pressing the feet down gently. So maybe 30 or 40% effort with the feet pressing down. I'm not trying to stand up here. And then go ahead and give yourself a hug. Just wrap the arms. wherever feels comfortable. So for some people, it may be the elbows, other people, the upper arms, other people, the shoulders, other people may be able to reach back more towards the shoulder blades. And one isn't really better. The best way to do it is to progressively be able to wrap yourself up a little bit more. So starting with something easy, and then over time, encouraging the body to wrap a little bit more. And then still sitting up nice and tall, bringing the arms down, rolling the shoulders. I'd like to start with the sound of our bowl. So it's a singing bowl. We haven't made it sing recently, so let's try that. So singing bowl is called a singing bowl because if you rub it the right way, it begins to sing. Notice there was no tapping. I mean, you could tap it too, but it's a little different. Now let's make the sound of Om. So we're going to wake up our voices, wake up our chests, our cheeks with the sound of Om. So the Om sound is the ah, mouth wide open. The bigger you open your mouth, the wider you open your mouth, but it should be comfortable, the louder you can make your sound. So if you actually want to be able to sound louder, try opening your mouth wider when you, whatever sounds you make, whether you're talking. You could even notice sometimes people are really loud, and if you notice, usually their mouth is really open when they talk. Not that we should practice that way, but when we do this, think about modulating the volume by using how wide the mouth is open. So it's the so big wide mouth, and then the oh. Notice as I make it the whole smaller, the volume goes down. Oh, and the last one is mouth is closed. So let's do that. We'll do it for about 30 seconds. We'll begin together, but please continue on your own and breathe naturally. So we breathe in, we use the exhalation to make the sound, we breathe in naturally again, relaxed, and then we continue, we breathe out again as we make the sound. So it isn't, we focus on being relaxed and nice and even on the sound. Doesn't have to be loud even. Better to be even and smooth. So let's go ahead and begin together. We'll take a breath in. And continue on. Relax the face and eyes. Soften the shoulders and the arms and the hands. Extend the spine up. Last one. Just take a couple of breaths. Nice and relaxed. Shoulders are soft. The face and eyes are relaxed. And the fingers and hands are relaxed. And even the feet and toes are relaxed. And then sit up nice and tall. And then go ahead and let the chin come down. So we're going to gently bow the head. Remembering to keep some space in the throat. So we want to make it so the throat feels, even though we're bowing the head, the throat still feels some openness or it doesn't feel closed. So perhaps lifting the chin ever so slightly up and reaching it out ever so slightly. So it's micro movements. These are micro movements. And then imagine keeping the throat open and letting the chin come down. I'm still sitting up tall. So the spine isn't really, it's bending up around the neck, but it's still pretty straight the rest of the way down. Try that one more time. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. And then exhale, release the chin down. If you have trouble breathing here, then lift the chin back up a little. So we still want to be able to breathe. We want to find some ease and calmness here. And then go ahead and lift the chin up. So this can be, bringing the chin down slightly can be calming for the nervous system. So remember, we have our nervous system is calmed by flexion in the spine, or really flexion in any parts of the body tend to be calming. So flexing the knees. So with the knees bent like this is flexion. With the spine like this is flexion of the spine. The opposite is extension, which is like this. So if I was to put my hands back here and I was to lift up, go ahead and try that. It's a little bit more invigorating. The chest is open. It's easier to breathe into the chest. So we get more air. So we get more sort of a boost of energy. So we use our flexion and extension to help us calm down or to boost the energy up. Let's actually try that a few times. So for this one, you're welcome to either stand if you want, or you can continue to sit. I'm going to show it standing, but you can do the same thing seated. You may need to move away from the back of the chair so you have room, but I'm going to turn so you can see. And I'm going to, you get a choice here of either putting the hands like this on the waist with the fingers pointing down, or you could interlace the fingers like this, or you could even bring the hands like this on the side. So it depends on your shoulders, but notice that all these positions, the chest is going to be more open, either like this, interlacing the fingers behind me, even though you can't see that. Make sure the shoulders relax though and come down. We don't want them up by the ears, so release the shoulders down. If you find the shoulders ride up too much, then try bringing the hands to the hips like this. And then the other choice is like this. And what I like about this position is that it actually supports the lower back, and it helps spread the lower back out even as we get a little extension in the spine. So I wouldn't call this a back bend per se, but it's going in that direction. So back bending is a more extreme form of this extension. And take a few breaths here. So the most important thing in this position is to breathe and relax. So we start to balance the extra energy from the extension of the spine with the breath. So when we breathe in and we slow the breath down, you can go ahead and release the arms down for a moment. When we slow the breath down, it helps to balance the opposite, which is the extension. You might even notice when you're in extension like this, that there's a natural tendency to breathe slightly faster. So, and that's normal. And we'll sit down, or you can continue to stand if you want. We're going to start with a little bit of joint work. So opening and closing the hands, opening and closing the hands. And let's spread the toes too. So we did this. I'm going to try to do this at something like this anyway at every class that we do now, because I think that, warming up, spending if you can, let's rub the hands together first. My hands are a little cold. Starting out your day with even just 10 minutes of this moving the joints in a methodical and pain-free way. So that means for some people, you may need to modulate what you do. Some people may not be able to extend the fingers fully yet, but we work on it as best we can. So that you've gone too far enough if it starts to get uncomfortable for the hands. And same thing with the feet. See if you can lift and spread the toes, even if they're in shoes. Even if they're in shoes. And then think about sitting up nice and tall. And as I lift and spread the toes, rest the hands for a minute. As I lift and spread the toes, I'm going to take my socks off for a minute, although my feet are cold. I'm going to lift and spread my toes, but notice the rest of my feet are flat. The rest of my foot is flat on the floor. So that this part, the ball of the foot and the heel and this outside edge are my support. They're still my support, even when I lift up like this. So try that a few more times. And then go back to doing it with the hands as well. And then we're going to circle. And let's circle and try rocking at the same time. It's usually best to start with one movement, get that movement going, and then add the second movement to it. And then go back the other way. And perhaps look at what you're doing down there. And think about it in terms of feeling it rather than making it an analytical experience. See if you can feel. And that might mean that if you close your eyes, it becomes a little bit more, you really have to feel when you close the eyes. And then holding the hands up and bringing the hands, let's start with bringing the hands back and forth and opening at the same time. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. So as I come forward, notice that the shoulder blades spread apart. And as I come back, I'm going to bring my shoulders back. So there's a little opening in the chest, going back. The elbows are going back slightly, almost like I'm going to elbow somebody, but very controlled and methodical. So I'm not really elbowing. It's not like this. It's not a punching backwards. It's a continuation of the movement forward and back. So I do get to the end of the movement, and then I have to go back, forward. So see if you can feel the hands moving back, the elbows moving back, and also the shoulders coming together. So hands, elbows, shoulders, they're moving in unison. And then when we go the opposite way, the hands open, the palms press forward, the shoulders spread apart behind you, and the elbows straighten. And again, think about it in terms of feeling. And if you can't feel all three of those things, work on feeling two of them first. Even if it's the palms opening and coming forward, pressing the palms through the air, and feeling the shoulders coming apart. I'm going to turn around so you can see. Notice the elbows come back, and then the shoulders apart. Almost like, it reminds me a little bit of rowing. If anybody is a rower or has been a rower in the past, I mean, most people have rowed a boat. Maybe you've been on the crew and you're rowing. Let's actually try that. This is a really good exercise, especially to warm up. Some people say that the two best exercises for people are rowing and cross-country skiing. because they use you're using your core especially, but also really the legs, the shoulders, the arms, so really the whole body in the crew. So walk the feet a little further out, so that so there's a little of an angle, not a 90-degree angle, but more than a 90-degree. So as you come forward, as you reach forward for your oars, you don't fall out of the chair. Make sure there's some room behind you so you can lean back. So I'm going to grab my oars and I'm going to pull back. When I come backwards, like when I come back like this, notice I'm leaning back slightly. You could make it so that when you lean back, you gently touch the back of the chair. That could be a little support if you need that. And then the same thing when we come forward. If you need a little more support, move the feet a little further away from the chair. We just don't want to fall out of the chair. So we come forward and then we lean back. And this is a great way to engage the abdominal muscles. And notice there's some ease going on here. We're doing this with some ease, so maybe 50% effort. And as I reach out, my back is getting a little bit of effort. You don't want to reach too far out. We don't want to have pain in the back or discomfort in the back. So if you're getting any pain or discomfort in the back, practice our yoga concept of ahimsa, nonviolence. That's a Sanskrit word. It means nonviolence. Ahimsa. They say that all the moral practices come from ahimsa. So if we practice nonviolence, all the other things kind of disappear. We can't really do them. You can't steal things. You can't hurt people physically. If you practice nonviolence, I mean, all those things are potentially violent. They're not good for other people. They're not good for us either. But and let's excuse me. You might want to have a little water. Let's go from side to side, lifting one foot up. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, think about going to that practice where we're not really leaning, we're just lifting up. You really feel it in the belly when you do that. But or somewhere in between. So you could work with just a little bit of leaning over if that helps you get that, being able to lift the knee up a little bit. So in the beginning, and if you need a lot of help, lean a little bit more and use the momentum. And then after you practice over weeks or months, remember yoga is really a lifetime practice. After you practice over a period of time, you may be able to move smaller movements and still lift the leg. And then eventually you get so you can lift the leg without leaning at all. It takes a lot more strength though in the belly, in the core area here. So if you are doing it this way, try putting your hands here and you feel that there's a real firmness there. This works on the deep abdominal muscles, not just the six-pack muscles on the surface here, which aren't really that, they might look good, but they're not that helpful. And come back to the middle. And let's circle around. We're circling around. And let's go the other way. The bigger the circles, the more challenging it usually is. Make sure that you can still keep the spine extended if you're going to make bigger circles. So it's almost as if we're lifting up out of the chair as I'm circling. So there's a little bit of lightness Kind of like before when we were leaning like this and we were trying to feel that lifting from the bending. This is the same idea, except now instead of just going to the sides, we're going in a circle. So see if you can feel that lifting up out of the chair as you circle around. You're not actually leaving the chair, but it's this feeling of lengthening in the center of the body. And then sitting up nice and tall and coming right to the middle. Now let's go back to start with the ankles and lift up and circle the ankles around. You may want to use the back of the chair for this one. A couple of times in each direction. And actually, let's add the wrist to it too. I did the wrist before a little bit, but somebody might have their microphone on. If you wouldn't mind turning it off, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we're going to rest and tap one knee like this, lift it up, and then swing the foot like this. So trying to keep it in a nice straight line, or as straight as we can. So the knee and the elbow are hinge joints. Let's do the elbow on the opposite side like this. Actually, because we're just swinging the knee, we're going to make a smaller movement here with the elbow. Actually, let's try it like this. So they're kind of going together. Notice, I think that mine are going opposite. So when my foot is up, my hand is back, and then the other way. You could do it the opposite way. You could do them so they both go the same way, or you could do it so they go the opposite way. The idea is just to maintain it so that when one gets to the end, the furthest point on one end, the other one's at its furthest point at one end too. It doesn't matter which one. Let's do the other side. Tap the knee first, and just swing. Think about extending the spine up. So if you need to readjust yourself, find your sitting bones, extend the spine up as you swing the foot, and then add the opposite elbow here. And then go ahead and come back down, and we'll do some leg lifting now. Just lift up like this, and then just point and flex a few times. Be mindful to keep the foot flat. Try not to let it turn in or out as you're flexing. And let's do the other one. This is just to sort of wake the foot up. And as we extend the leg out, remember, we're going to think about flexing the foot, bringing the toes back, and that's going to help with lengthening the hamstrings on the backs of the legs. This is a little warm up. And so let's go back and forth like that. So we'll inhale, flex the foot, and then relax the foot and come down. So we'll inhale, flex the foot, relax the foot, and come down. So if you don't use the back of the chair, it's a little bit harder, but if you want a real challenge, you can try that. It means that you really have to turn on the abdomen more to keep lifted. So remember, we don't want a rounded back. Don't let your lower back stick out in the bottom. Either straight or a little bit of a curve the other way. And that means strong abdominal muscles or firm abdominal muscles. You could even, if you wanted, you could take your hands like this, put it on your abdomen and press slightly, and then feel the abdominal muscles. Feel the abdominal muscles underneath the hands. So we're flexing the foot. They call this dorsiflexion, I think. Or maybe it's plantar flexion. I always confuse the two. So one is this and the other is this. I think this might be plantar flexion, actually. And then we're going to add the arm to it if you want. So we'll continue with the same movement with the legs. The legs lifting up, and then I'm going to add the arm. I'm doing the opposite arm. You could do the same arm, arm on the same side if you wanted. And see if you can find a connection between the toe and the fingers so they go up and down together. Even imagine there's a string. Try closing the eyes and even just take hold of the string or thread and pull the leg up with the fingers like this, like you're holding a string or a thread. And we're going to go back and forth. So we inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Add a sigh. So I breathe in, it's an opportunity to extend the spine, to lift up, perhaps using the back of the chair here, perhaps not. But if you're not using it, if you're not using the back of the chair for support, make sure you're able to keep the spine extended. Don't sacrifice the extension of the spine to not use the back of the chair. And then go ahead and come back down. And let's roll the shoulders up and back. Sometimes there's a tendency to think that doing something, I don't know, doing something that's supposed to be harder is better. And, you know, it's all relative. There are things that are hard enough that some people are doing stuff that's really hard that we are never going to do. And there'll always be somebody who can do something that's harder, and just the opposite too. There's probably always something that you can do that's more, that other people can't do. This, believe it or not, that's too challenging. Now let's roll the shoulders the other way. So when I roll my shoulders, try to keep the arms relaxed. Let the hands rest on the legs and soften from the shoulders down. So the arms are just hanging. You could even try letting the arms dangle if you wanted. But I prefer mine on just resting on the legs. And then back the other way. So as I lift up, the shoulders are coming up underneath the earlobes. There's this shortening. And the neck is still relatively long. So I'm not hunching up everything. Notice my neck here shortens. I'm going to keep my shoulders down and then allow the neck to be long as I circle. And let's swim a little. So reaching out and across and down the other side. Let yourself turn. Let your body turn a little bit. It can be nice here to feel the hand going down the outside of the thigh. It gives us a little feeling of where the hand is. And also it makes a little connection. So it's not like our arms are out in space somewhere and we're doing this. It really gives it a uniform feeling. Well, because it is uniform, the hands are traveling down the outside of the legs, so they're almost always in the same spot as we repeat, versus when the arms are kind of more flailing. I mean, it's okay to practice like this. It can be a little harder, because if we're trying to keep the hands doing the same thing and the arms doing the same thing, it means we have to be able to feel them. We have to be able to focus in on them and feel them. And that can take sometimes a lot of practice. But anybody who's up for that, I mean, you can try it and see. And then we, did we do backstroke? Let's do a backstroke. Going backwards like this. And we're going to work on the ears. So we've warmed up, starting at the feet. We've gotten pretty much all the way up to the head. So let's work with the earlobes here and the edges of the ears. Turn sideways so you can see. Actually, I'll get a little closer so you can see. So notice I'm gently just pulling on the earlobe, and I kind of let it just, it feels a little elastic, but I'm not pulling on it so hard that it's actually, there's no pain at all. There's no discomfort at all. So try to make it so there's no discomfort at all. It just feels nice. It's like a little gentle pull. And then we're going to lift the chin up and down. So remember, doing the ears in Chinese medicine, that exercise for the ears helps to stimulate the heart. And as we've said in the past, it can also release some of the fascia associated with the neck. And then we're going to tip the head. If you want to add the breath, inhale on the way up, exhale on the way down. Inhale up, and exhale down. And you can use your hands as a pillow too. And one more time on each side. Very important to just relax the head and let the weight of the head do the work of stretching the side of the neck. And then coming up and head. Start with thinking about the nose, sweeping the nose back and forth. And let's add a finger to it. So my gaze is following the finger like this. If this makes you dizzy at all, try closing the eyes. Don't follow the finger with the gaze and go slower. So sometimes when we get dizzy, when we do anything and we get dizzy, it can be because of the vestibular system. When we move our head too quickly, the liquid in the ear that helps with the balance gets disturbed, and or gets disturbed too much and can make us dizzy. It's like if you remember as kids, you'd hold your arms out and you'd spin around like this and get really dizzy and then fall on the ground and look up, and the sky would be going like this. Most people don't do that anymore, but it's the same thing. If you stir everything up, then you're going to end up being dizzy. And let's circle the head around. And this is another one where slower might be a little better. Keeping the shoulders relaxed, face and eyes are soft. Being careful not to drop the head backwards too much. A little bit, it's okay. And then back the other way. And while you do this, notice the feet. See if the feet feel connected to the earth, grounded, and also the sitting bones. Sometimes we lose those connections. We get lost in whatever it is that we're doing. But we still want to feel connected and supported by the earth. And then coming back up and taking a couple of breaths. And we're going to stand up. So we're going to start in mountain pose. So remember, you have your chair. If you need to, you can always put one chair behind and one chair in front for support, and also in case you need to sit down. but I'll turn sideways so you can see. We're going to start in our mountain pose. Mountain pose is a foundational pose in yoga. So feel the feet. You can also do this seated. We started with seated mountain pose. So go back to that at the very beginning of class. Feeling the feet, lift and spread the toes. So the rest of my feet are flat on the floor. Or my inner arches are lifted. But the rest of my feet, the balls of my feet, the heels and the outer edges are firmly in contact with the floor here. And then try bending the knees ever so slightly and straightening. Making sure the knees go straight ahead. So the knees are pointing in the same direction as the toes. And the feet and toes are pointed straight ahead. They're parallel to each other. We'll do this a few more times. And as you straighten the legs, press the thighs back and engage the gluteal muscles. The buttock muscles are engaging, moving towards each other. So if you put your hands back here, you'll feel them become firmer. That's the idea anyway. We want to be able to feel them get firmer. And sometimes if we sit a lot, that doesn't work so well. It can take some practice to enliven or awaken the gluteal muscles. This is a good exercise. Notice a very slight bend in the knees here, not much. Really just almost like a softening and then a straightening up. And as you straighten up, stand up nice and tall. And then move the shoulders back and extend the arms. Allow the arms to extend down. Back of the neck is long here. Back of the neck is long. Try not to let the chin jut out like this. You might need to pull the chin in slightly. And take a couple of breaths like this. You could also stand against the wall. That's a good way to, feel what straight is. Without leaning against the wall, I can just feel my buttocks touching and my shoulder blades tapping the wall behind me. So as I bend and straighten, I can feel them going up and down the wall, but without leaning backwards. And that tells me whether or not they're straight. And also the head. So I can just feel the back of what small pieces of hair I have sticking back there. I can feel them just touching the wall. Maintain balance between the left and the right foot. So you may need to lean slightly to one side so that you can feel the weight on that side. Let's actually try that. Let's lean back and forth so that one side begins to feel a little bit lighter than the other. And then we're going to slowly come back to the middle. So we're standing up nice and tall. And then let's shake out the hands, and we're going to swing the arms like this. Be mindful of the chair if it's next to you, or behind you, or in front of you. Sometimes people don't like mountain pose because they think it's boring. It's so important to really be able to do all the actions. You don't have to do them all, learn them all at the same day, but over time to learn the different actions, the lifting of the toes, the extension of the legs up, the thighs moving back. All those things come with a little bit of practice. And then it becomes more interesting because you have all these different things that you need to do when you practice mountain pose. And we're going to stand up nice and tall. And we're going to come up behind our chair and we're going to step back and then forward. So step back, extending the leg back and engaging the gluteal muscles. So this is another one where if you were to feel the buttock muscle here, it would feel tight, it would feel firm. So as we step back, there's a firming and a lifting of the heart. And then we're going to step forward so the foot comes a little bit under the chair and then back like this. And this actually, when we step forward, it releases the gluteal muscles. So we back, lift, engage, and then we're going to go back and forth. Let's do that a couple of times on each side, and then switch sides. Maybe 3 times on each side. Perhaps 3 times on each side. This is that movement that if you were at a kitchen counter, you could put your hands on the counter. Just be careful, don't run your toes into the kick plate under the counter. But you can step back, or a kitchen table even. Kitchen table works really well. This is also a good way to teach the gluteal muscles to be able to contract better, especially if you have trouble getting them to contract. Put your hand on it and step back, and then stay here for, stay here and then bend and straighten the knee until you can feel the gluteal muscle contract. And it can take practice. It actually can take a long time, especially if you do a lot of sitting and these muscles are not used to working. It may take, I'm sorry to say, weeks or months to get them to work. But we want them to be responsive. If the gluteal muscles are working well, it helps with the bending of the knees. It helps with the quadriceps, and it can improve knee issues, any knee issues that you have. Having a strong core, buttocks, and quadriceps supports the knee. It's good for knee health. And let's stand up nice and tall. And we're going to do our tree pose today. And we're going to stand up tall in mountain pose first. So come into mountain. Don't think about tree yet. And then go ahead and step the foot out like this. Let's do that a couple of times. Thinking about the weight is moving. So as I step to the side like this, the weight is shifted over onto this leg. And try not to let the hip come out. Try to keep the, think about compacting the hips, moving the buttocks together. And let's even do the arms like this. Open and back. And open and back. Let's do the other side. Open and back. Open and back. 2 more. Open and back. Open and back. And standing nice and tall. Now we'll do our tree pose. We'll so pat one leg. So this will be the firm leg, the straight leg, the standing leg, and then go ahead and turn the other foot, the other leg out. So I'm turning out up here around the groin area. And then go ahead and find a spot for the sole of the foot. And if you need to, you can always put your fingertips on the chair. You could have the chair in front of you like this. You could put both hands on the chair. Try not to lean on the chair. If you lean, it changes the straightness of the spine, and we end up doing this. And we don't want to be leaning over like this. We want to be straight. We still want to be straight. We want to have that lengthening of the spine. And then if you want, you can add the arms. Arms are lifting. Heart is lifting. Belly's engaged here. Keep that belly engaged to support the spine. And then go ahead and whenever you're ready, come down. Remember, it's particularly important, especially in these standing poses, that if you get to the point where you're straining, that you come out of the pose, you can always go back in again. So stand nice and tall in mountain pose again, and pat the opposite leg this time. And then standing up nice and tall. Think about pressing the foot into the floor, almost like as if I was going to bend the leg, soften the knee slightly, and then straighten so you stand up tall. And the buttocks come together, and then I turn the leg out, and then find a spot for the sole of the foot. And then if you want, you can add your arms or one arm if you want to hold on to the chair or touch the chair. You could also do this at the wall. If you had a wall behind you, you could touch your fingertips on the wall like this. But it can be nice if you can find that spot where you balance comfortably with some ease. That balance of ease and effort, it's nice to have the arms. And even if you need to touch down with the toe, it's okay. Just come back up, and then whenever you're ready, come on back down. And let's swing the arms again. So we're going to do triangle pose. And I'm going to show it. We'll start. I'm going to show it seated. We're going to start like this, standing. If you're standing like this, arms are out, toes are pointing straight ahead. Notice that there's a triangular shape between the feet and the buttocks. And I'm going to sit down. But if you'd like to do it standing, please go ahead. The shape is still kind of the same. You could do it with bent legs, or you could even do it with straighter legs like this. You'll probably need to be near the front edge of the chair. So either way. And then for triangle, we inhale, and then we come to the side and let one arm slide down the leg. And then come back up, and we'll do the other side. So inhale up, and exhale down. Inhale up, and exhale down. Inhale up, and exhale down. And then one more on each side. Keeping the spine extended here, or lengthened. Maybe lengthened is a better way to think of it. And then go ahead and bring the arms down, and then step the feet together. And we're going to go ahead and sit down. And find a nice comfortable spot so that you're able to inhale, lift the arms up. Arms are nice and wide, they're circling around. Inhale up. So the circles can be smaller circles, or they can be bigger circles, whatever's most comfortable for you. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. It's important to have the shoulders relaxed and to be extending the spine as I inhale and come up. And a couple more. Now let's go the other way. So this is just giving the body a chance to kind of cool down. And then rest the hands. We're going to come into Shavasana. So whatever you need for that, please go ahead and if you took off any clothing because you were warm, it might be a good time to put it back on. A blanket. In yoga, we actually use a lot of blankets, and for all kinds of stuff, including keeping warm in Shavasana. You're always welcome to lay down in Shavasana if you want. If you have a firm spot to lay down, you can do that, or you can do it in your chair. I'm going to take a blanket for the legs here. And the way we've been doing Shavasana is that we'll start it together, and then we're going to formally end our practice and continue on in Shavasana for as long as we want. If you go for 5 or 10 minutes, you might find it a nice way to practice. At least a couple more minutes anyway. But it's really about, you want to get to a spot where you feel okay. So let's go ahead and begin to breathe. And we'll exhale and soften and release and relax. Feeling the feet grounded in the earth, feeling the buttocks supported by the chair. So I'm able to extend the spine with some ease and keep the shoulders relaxed and soft. The face and the eyes are soft. And I'm breathing naturally here. And with maybe about 50% effort extending the spine up. So I want to keep the spine lengthened and just engaged, really balanced with the relaxed. So it's a relaxed pose. So a balance between being relaxed, but also being extended. And everything else really in the body is relaxing. Just the spine has that little bit of effort in it. The shoulders and arms and hands are relaxed. The belly is soft, or at least more relaxed. It helps support the back, so we don't totally relax it. The legs are soft. The feet are grounded with the earth, connected with the earth. The jaw, the tongue, the throat are relaxed. The eyes and all the muscles around the eyes are relaxed. So we'll take just a little bit longer. I'll ring the bell one time, and that will be the signal to end the class, or we'll formally end the class. And then please go ahead and continue for as long as you want in Shavasana. And I would love to get feedback if anybody wants to email with what their experience is like doing Shavasana after the class. It's always good to hear from people and see if it's a good experience. So we want it to be a positive, a good experience. And this is the way we begin to meditate and do Shavasana on our own, so that you could do it any time you wanted, just by sitting down, relaxing, closing the eyes. Continue for a few more breaths, and then I'll tap the bowl to formally end the class. We'll see everyone next time.
Okay, the video has ended.